Hey guys, it's Camper Dad. What I decided to try today is ground beef. I have seen others do it, and you can always buy freeze-dried ground beef from some of the locations around that sell emergency prep food. And there's lots of recipes out there for using freeze-dried ground beef. However, last year we got a bunch of ground beef at a pretty cheap price. And so now it's been sitting in our freezer, taking up space, and we aren't using it quite as fast as I thought we would. So I decided, let's freeze dry it and be able to store it for longer. So I pulled out 4 pounds of ground beef and I browned it, and then I drained off the fat and rinsed it to try and get rid of the fat that doesn't freeze dry as well. So it's as lean as I can make it. And so I've got a couple of trays here. I'll show you. So I have roughly a pound of ground beef on each tray. You can see where I've just put it on the trays here and froze it overnight. Put it in little chunks. There's a little bit of ice left from the condensation underneath the shrink wrap. So I'm going to put it in. I have no idea how long it's going to take to freeze dry this, but I am excited on the other side to reconstitute some of it and try a few things that I've seen and read about reconstituting ground beef in different ways. So we're going to put it in the freeze dryer, and probably tomorrow morning we'll be able to pull it out and test it. And I'll let you know how long it takes. If I look at the ice tomorrow morning and determine that I can do more, I'll probably do 4 trays like this, because I've got a lot of ground beef that I need to do something with before it gets freezer burned and ruined. All right, it's morning again, and the ground beef is done. It took 16 and a half hours. That was 4 pounds of ground beef that I had browned, dumped off as much of the fat as I could to get it as lean as possible. It was 16 and a half hours. I've been heating the trays so they're not so cold when they come out. And I'll show you what they look like here. Guess I had to check and make sure they're all dry. Get some of the big pieces here and break it apart. And yes, they're very dry. I did not season these purposely so that we could season them however we wanted when we were using them in cooking. I'm going to shut this off though. And I'm going to pull the other tray out. And start defrosting. But today I decided that I wanted to try some of this in a couple of different ways, just because I've watched some of the ways that others have reconstituted their ground beef. And so let me show you. So I've got 2 different bowls here. One just has hot water, and you probably can't see in the bowls, but that one has hot water. I'm just going to drop a couple of pieces in. Try and let them sit in there for a minute. The other one has some chicken bouillon some garlic salt, and a little bit of pepper. I'm going to try and see how that one does. Let's find another. That one's reconstituting really fast because I put it on the stove to heat it, because I also put some butter in it. I had heard that you need to re-add a little bit of fat into when you're doing meats. So before I set this aside, in the freeze dryer, I could have done 2 more trays easily of this. I just wasn't confident enough to do a full 8 pounds of ground beef, but I've got a lot left over from what we bought last summer that I'm probably going to do in the freeze dryer so that I can store it. As we all know, meat that sits in the freezer for years, you end up throwing away. Also, with meat, you should definitely package it correctly. Definitely put it in something that is airtight. Use oxygen absorbers. Meat can go rancid pretty fast if you don't package it right and it's not totally dry. So make sure it is, and which I did by breaking apart the biggest pieces in here, and they just crumble. So I know that they're dry, and I'm going to package these. I will then add them to my food storage, but ground beef is one of those things that's so versatile, so easy to use in so many things. Just go on the internet, go on YouTube, and search for recipes for freeze-dried ground beef. You're going to find more than you can possibly use. So I'm going to see how this works out here. Just the water first. It tastes just like ground beef. It's a little more tough than it came out of the pan originally. I imagine that when it goes into a dish or something and is able to reconstitute better over time, it will probably be better. Maybe that's something I'll do later in a video. I'm going to try the one that's in the broth here. It had a little bit of butter to add some fat. That was much better than the water. The texture of it, everything was better. So if you're going to reconstitute it, to use it in something that's going to add some flavor back into the meat and add some fat, then I think you're not going to notice the difference. So that's what I would do. Got one more piece here. So again, that was just a little bit of chicken broth, just a tiny little bit of butter, enough to spread on a piece of bread because I was only reconstituting a couple pieces, but then also some garlic salt. It was so much better than just doing it in the water. So when you have leftover or excess, or ground beef is on sale at the store, get some, freeze dry it, and put it in your food storage, and you'll be able to use it like this, reconstituting it in something, and you're going to love it. That's all today.